stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon. Yep, afternoon. Already been to the hospital, ER, fucking. All right. Did everybody lose all their posts on Facebook? I did for a minute. It seems like they're back now. So, but nothing's like playing automatically. And yep, man. Oh no. I just love watching everybody. Facebook is down. Oh no. Oh no. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? All right. So who knows if half the stuff is going to work on here. So who knows? We're waiting on people to get here. Let me get my chat set up. Okay, the overlay's on. Get this set up. Google random number between 100 and 164. I'll keep that a surprise. I'll keep it a surprise. I got a headache. My shoulder freaking hurts, man. Not that one. It's this one right there. They said it was tendinitis, not tinnitus. Tendinitis, which is just a muscle you've used over and over, and it tends to wear out. It usually happens in the fingers from typing and the motion of stuff all the time. I don't quite believe them. I think it has a lot to do with nerves and things like that. But the scary part was my blood pressure was, there's like 226 over 127. So yeah. Oh yeah. I just run very, very high. I don't know if you ever noticed, but yeah. I mean, my body's like 110% a lot of the times, and it's nerve wracking. But I just thought I was balancing out and things like that. But EKG and everything looked okay. But I am going to do a follow up with a doctor who understands that I don't have insurance, because I don't. That was what was stopping me. So I figure I'd let you go ahead and join in on this with me. All right, I'm going to share. Okay, so the random number between 164. Can I get a drum roll, please? Come on, enter. I did that all perfect. 153 is where we're going to be in the big book. All right, we're going to stop sharing. Did you? Good for you. Yeah, I've had a pretty bad headache for weeks. Actually, it's been well over a month. And they gave me, they're like, here's some scripts. I'm going to go get them filled, but I can't have them till later because I don't have no money. I don't have any money to pay for them. My wife will take care of that. So, all right. So we're going to be on page 153. 153. And I'm glad you're home. There's nothing like being home and snuggled up with your stuff. There's nothing like it, man. Which is why I'm trying to do this halfway house for homeless alcoholics. Because the thing is when you're an alcoholic and you have nothing, and somebody gives you a space, you treat it like gold. You do. They treat it really, really well. And when you have your stuff and your bed, and you know where you're going to lay your head down at night, right? When you know when you're going to eat, and you get to decide what you're going to eat, and it's not determined by other people, because maybe you don't like mayonnaise on all your shit. Maybe you don't like turkey and bologna and chips and shit. Yeah, it's always sandwiches. It's always fucking sandwiches, So, but then the more I think about that, it's like, fuck, I wish I had my stuff open, man. You know, I come across people all the time that I can help, and I don't have an outlet, and it's really fucking frustrating. It's really frustrating, you know. So, um, so 153 is where we're gonna go ahead and start. So it's probably the last thing I do today. I had a meeting with Adams County. I don't think I did very well with it. I don't like the outcome. All right. It may seem incredible that these men are to become happy, respected, and useful once more. How can they arise out of such misery, bad repute, and hopelessness? The practical answer is that since these things have happened among us, they can happen with you. Should you wish them above all else and be willing to make use of our experience, we are sure they will come. The age of miracles is still with us. Our own recovery proves that. And see, I get to use that a lot. I get to use the proof. I am the proof in the pudding. I'm the proof. You're the proof. And our experiences are fact. Okay. Wish I could change some things on my Instagram because anymore, all I ever see is people that have been in the program for, you know, a little bit of time, and by a little bit of time I mean 1 to 2 years, and suddenly they're a fucking expert in everything, and they seem to know everything, and you know, yeah, there you go. It's all right. So, you know, this whole don't learn or cancel culture, what it's going to do is if the younger people don't listen, they ain't gonna be around. You can just kiss mankind goodbye, man. That's how detrimental it is that we pass on what it is that we've got. And we got to do that through our experience, right? It's the only way that we can really do it. Our hope is that when this chip of a book is launched on the world tide of alcoholism, defeated drinkers will seize upon it to follow its suggestions. Many, we are sure, will rise to their feet and march on. They will approach still other sick ones, and fellowships of Alcoholics Anonymous may spring up in each city and hamlet, havens for those who must find a way out. All right. Now you're going to hear a lot of percentages. Okay. About half the people make it. About half the people die sober. That's been my experience. And my experience is criterion to any testing they did. Yeah, we know better. Just look around the rooms. Yeah. You go to a meeting, say people are up, see? And it's actually bigger. It's actually more than that. It's about 75% of us make it. Okay. Did you know that 100% of the people make it that follow the suggestions thoroughly and do it every day? Yeah, then we have a 100% success rate. See how I can move all these things around to create a success rate? So, or to create a percentage to something? Yeah, so don't fucking listen to it. Well, only blah, blah, blah make it. Well, that was better than fucking zero, wasn't it? See, we're looking at this wrong. No, 50% fucking make it. That's awesome. Considering you can only do like 1 or 2% yourselves, doctors. Aha. See? Now, I will even go as far as say AA is not the only way. It's not. But even these other programs, you're still going to do the work. Ow, mother, son of a gun. All right. Oh. I've got a ganglion cyst in my wrist, and they couldn't take care of that today either. And I twisted that over, and it went, bloop. Now my wrist is killing me. God, I'm 54, and I have to deal with all this fucking bullshit because I was an alcoholic. It's a little, oh, God. All right, give me a second, please. Because what's going to happen is I'll forget that it's hurting because I'm kind of used to pain. So we're going to put this on as a preventive measure. All right. See, that time it didn't hurt because I was on. Ouch. Yep. It's not, I can't quite do it. At this point, it just needs to be removed. I used to be able to do that, or I'd have to get drunk first, though. So that I'm not so much worried about as I am my shoulder and my heart, honestly. So I got several things I got to take care of. My shoulder, my neck, my big toe hurts all the time. This finger hurts all the time because I jammed it in my wrist. You know, all because my wife makes just a little too much as a fucking caretaker. So anyway, let's get back to this. Many, we are sure, will rise to their feet and march on. They will approach still other sick ones. Oh, we did that part. In the chapter Working with Others, you gathered an idea of how we approach and aid others to health. Suppose now that through you, several families have adopted this way of life. You will want to know more of how to proceed from that point. Perhaps the best way of treating you to a glimpse of the future will be described the growth of the fellowship among you. Here's a brief account. Now, there was something important here. Yeah. Yeah, there was a song in the 90s called OPP. And back then it stood for other people's problems. Now I think it stands for old people problems. That would be me. So I got OPP right now. I got old people problems. The thing is, I'm not that old. I'm 54. And people are like, that's not old. And that's just, I'm sorry, folks. But if you're not 54 yet, you don't know. Okay. I mean, death could be looming around the corner for me at any moment now. That's the way it is. Anyway, let's try to get a little more joyful and hopeful than the death of Tion. Right? I say that and you're like, I'm down, but it was way off. It was because of the lag. So, but it made it look like, oh, that's hilarious. 54? Yeah. See? Yeah. Yeah. Were you born in 1970? It's cool being born in 1970 because it's easy to keep track of your age. When you have a zero, right? September 18th, 1970. That's my birth date. So, but there was an important part in here. It says, suppose now that through you, several families have adopted this way of life. Not alcoholics, families. We're supposed to be helping heal whole families. You know, I was just talking to Adams County. I said, this is my utopian idea. My utopian idea. That because we're looking for a space so that we can hold all kinds of 12-step meetings. All kinds. OA, CA, NA, AA. It's just going to be a place for us to do that. Okay. So, you know, I told my utopian is if there's an AA meeting, that there's an Al-Anon and an Alateen meeting going on at the same time. Yes. And he agreed. Right. Right. And he understood. I'll take it as far as that. He divulged some things to me, and I'm just going to say he understands like we understand. Right. You'll find that a lot of people that work in the field are also in recovery, or they have been affected by recovery. And some recovered alcoholic came along and helped their dad or helped their mom or helped their significant other or their son or their daughter or somebody that they loved. And they're like, I want to be able to help too because of my experience. I can also help families. And it's really important that we get the family involved as much as we can. You know, my kids attended Alateen for a little bit and they fucking hated it. They made fun of it and things like that. Okay, they were kids, man. You know, They thought they were juggalos. Yes, they're juggalos. I'm like, I grew up on the fucking streets and I will smack you around. A juggalo. You don't even know what you're saying yet. All right. I used to carry a switchblade. That was normal. All right. Anyway, so yeah, we've got to include, and I try and include the family as much as I can. All right. But a lot of times they just want to stay separate. But I tell you what, I'll tell you something. A couple, okay, like my wife and I use this as an example. She went to Al Anon for a while. See, Al Anons don't need to go forever like we do. If they want to, they can. But, they're non-alcoholic and therefore they do things a little differently than us. Okay. But it still goes every now and again. They can be quite judgmental though. So, like alcoholics. But I mean, it says it in the big book. Living with an alcoholic is bound to make anyone neurotic. Right? So they went to Alateen, but at least they understood the disease a little bit better. And that's what we were going after. That's what it was. Alateen is a prevention program. You know who goes to Alateen? The next alcoholics, usually. Yeah. Years ago, in 1935, one of our number made a journey to a certain Western city. From a business standpoint, his trip came off badly. He had been successful in his enterprise. Let me repeat that. Hey, Ingrid, it's good to see you. Had he been successful in his enterprise, and I got your card. Thank you. It's right there. I'm gonna put it on my fridge. Oh no, it's right there. Yeah, butt crack Santa. See, I just want you to say I got it. So Ingrid held this card, and now I get to touch it. It's so famous. All right, good to see you. I love you. All right, all right, let's repeat that. Had he been successful in his enterprise, he would have been set on his feet financially, which at the time seemed vitally important. But his venture wound up in a lawsuit and bogged down completely. The proceeding was shot through, and with much hard feeling and controversy. Bitterly discouraged, he found himself in a strange place, discredited and almost broke, still physically weak and sober but a few months, 6 months. Okay. He saw that his predicament was dangerous. He wanted so much to talk with someone, but who? One dismal afternoon, he paced a hotel lobby. Okay. Before I move on, this is Bill. Okay. This is Bill at 6 months sober, who found out that the best way to stay sober, in fact, the only way to stay sober once you get your sobriety, is by giving it away. Right? And Dr. Silkworth had brought up to him, because he's like, I haven't helped anybody. He's like, yeah, but you've been sober 6 months, which is just a fucking miracle. So something is working. Something is working. Now, that conversation happened before this. Okay. One dismal afternoon, he paced a hotel lobby, wondering how his bill was to be paid. He didn't have the money to pay it. At one end of the room stood a glass of covered directories in local churches. Down the lobby, a door opened into an attractive bar. He could see the gay crowd inside. In there, he would find companionship and release. Unless he took some drinks, he might not have the courage to scrape up an acquaintance and would have a lonely weekend. Look at his thought process of an alcoholic. He can't pay his bill for the hotel room, but he's willing to spend it on alcohol. See, the thought process of money never went through it. But watch what happens. Of course he couldn't drink, but why sit hopefully at a table, a bottle of ginger ale before him? After all, had he not been sober 6 months now? Perhaps he could handle, say, 3 drinks, no more. All right, right there, we're wrong. Right? So we alcoholics think that, okay, 2 or 3 drinks. That's alcohol. That's alcoholic drinking. Sure is. You want to know how much non-alcoholics have? One or less. One or less. I know. I can't comprehend it either. So already 2 or 3 only. How about half? How about half a beer? How does that sit in your stomach? Not very well, huh? No. See, it's the first one that kills you. It's the first one that kills you. Okay? It's the engine that kills you, not the caboose. Fear gripped him. He was on thin ice. Yes, he wasn't. Not as thin as he thought. Again, it was the old insidious insanity. That first drink, with a shiver, turned away and walked down the lobby to the church directory. Music and gay chatter still floated to him from that bar. Doesn't that just sound inviting? You ever see those cartoons where like somebody puts a pie, like the old Tom and Jerry one, somebody puts a pie on the windowsill to cool. By the way, that doesn't happen in life. It never did. But then the aroma goes through and you see, Tom, who's the cat, right? And he floats up in the air. And that's me when it comes to the bar. And I'm on thin ice. Ooh, sounds good. Sounds attractive. What does the devil come in? What form? That bright, shiny lights, shiny things, man. Things that make you go, woo. You know what isn't the devil? The down, dirty, arduous trail. No, he don't go there. Why? Because that's God's world. God's world. God's world. Excellent. Sober on. Oh, I'm laughing and doing all this because I'm in a lot of pain. Okay. But what about his responsibilities? His family and the men who would die because they would not know how to get well. Oh, yes, those other alcoholics. There must be many such in this town of Akron, Ohio. I don't know why they called it a Western city. Akron, Ohio is not a Western city. But anyway, maybe they met in a different town. I don't know. But it does have the little asterisk down here. This refers to Bill's first visit with Bob. So there must be many that he would phone a clergyman. His sanity returned. And he thanked God. Selecting a church at random from the directory, he stepped into the booth and lifted the receiver. Okay. Now, I want you to know something a little bit about Bill. He was a very religious Christian man. Okay. He was a Bible thumper, man, and extremely intelligent, which helped with the writing of this. But there are a lot of things he wrote in this that were nixed out. They were taken out. There's a lot of things in here that were a little too Bible-y. And so they were taken out because he was Christian. He was either Christian or Catholic. Christian. Okay. His call to the clergyman led him presently to a certain resident of the town who, though formerly able and respected, was nearing the nadir of alcoholic despair. That's the nadir would be like Dion looking it up because I can't explain it. Definition of nadir.
Here's the definition of nadir. The lowest point in the fortunes of a person or organization.
Yeah. The end of the horizon. That's what I was going to call it. The lowest point in the fortunes of a person. What do we call that in AA? We call it the gift of desperation. All right. It was the unusual situation, the usual situation. Home in jeopardy, wife ill, children distracted, bills in arrears, and standing damage. He had a desperate desire to stop. See, there it is, desperate. But saw no way out, for he had earnestly tried many avenues of escape. Painfully aware of being somehow abnormal, the man did not fully realize what it meant to be an alcoholic. When our friend related his experience, the man agreed that no amount of willpower he might muster could stop his drinking for long. A spiritual experience, he conceded, was absolutely necessary, but the price seemed high upon the basis suggested. Yeah, Ingrid, I agree because of the Oxford group stuff. That's kind of what went through my head. And I kind of brought it up here because I figured you might have looked into it. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the Oxford houses are great. The Oxford groups are great, man. Absolutely. They don't really meet like we do. It's more a one-on-one kind of a thing. I might be wrong on that, but I think that's what I was told. Anyway, so, but the price seemed high upon the basis suggested. What price? What price is he talking about? I don't know. Would it be the death of the old self? Is it because I got to let go of alcohol? What price? It's the death of the old self, the letting go of the best friend. There's a price to be paid to enter the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's why there are no dues or fees for AA membership. You paid your dues. And I don't care, you only been drinking, your career was 2 years. And if it was enough, it was not. You still paid your dues. Because it wasn't just those 2 years. Right? Hey, Amber, it's good to see you. Told how he lived in constant worry about those who might find out about his alcoholism, but everybody already knew. He had, of course, the familiar alcoholic obsession that few knew of his drinking. He had, of course, the familiar alcoholic obsession that few knew of his drinking. Why, he argued, should he lose the remainder of his business only to bring still more suffering to his family by foolishly admitting his plight to the people for whom he had made his livelihood? He would do anything, he said, but that. So that was the price he thought he was going to have to pay. The cost of his family. Hey, Gary, good to see you. So I guess that's what the price he wasn't willing to pay. Yeah, that's not the price. He wasn't going to pay that. What is that really? It's denial. That's just another intelligent person coming up with another way to deny what they are. You know, it's kind of like when you get to the 4th step with some people, and they'll tell you, "Well, I was never mad at anybody." Okay, piss them off. Oh, I thought you didn't get mad at me. Oh, see? No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. All right, but we will make up reasons. We will, as to why we shouldn't have to do the 4th step the way that other people, that it's listed in the big book. Right? Not always. I'm just kind of using an example. I got to do some stretching. My shoulder is killing me, and I'm not going to have my meds until tonight. So I got to at least stretch and get rid of some of the. Okay. There we go. That's really not good for it, but it does kind of bring a little bit of instant relief. So not for the headache. Being intrigued, however, he invited our friend to his home, which now you can tour. All right, now you can tour. You can tour Dr. Bob's house. Now, imagine this. This was a long time ago, but there was somebody they were so drunk and they got a DUI because they crashed their car into the front of Dr. Bob's house. I bet that person's in the program and got a great story to tell. Hey, but it's over with. Nobody got hurt. We're laughing at it, and that's the kind of people we are now. We got to laugh at some things. Earlier, I saw people like, "Oh, so was all Facebook." And I went, and I'm like, none of my posts were there. Everything I ever posted on Facebook was gone. And I laughed because I knew that's not what was going to, So it's just, I take a look at things a little bit further. But sometime later, and just as he thought he was getting control of his liquor situation, he went on a roaring bender. For him, this was the spree that ended all sprees. And this is Dr. Bob. He saw that he would have to face his problems squarely that might give him mastery. One morning, he took the bull by the horns and set out to tell those he feared what his trouble had been. He found himself surprisingly well received and learned that many knew of his drinking. No shit. Stepping into his car, he made the rounds of people he had hurt. He trembled as he went about, for this might mean ruin, particular to a person in his line of business. His line of business, he was a doctor, and a very good doctor. And then, you know what he would do after this? He would actually be broke the rest of his life because he gave his services away for free to alcoholics that needed it. Wow. And he was, and probably one of the most wealthiest man in the world. But it wasn't money. It wasn't money. And at midnight, he came home exhausted but very happy. He has not had a drink since. As we shall see, he now means a great deal to his community, and the major liabilities of 30 years of hard drinking have been repaired in 4 years. But life was not easy for the two friends. Plenty of difficulties presented themselves, but they saw they must keep the spiritually active. One day they called up the head nurse at a local hospital. They explained their need and inquired if she had a first-class alcoholic prospect. All right, to kind of fill you in on the story, these two hit it off. Okay? And so Bill, instead of paying from my understanding, Dr. Bob paid his bill at the hotel, and then he moved in with Bob for a while. And they did some work together before he went back to New York. And I believe this is where the third person comes in and the first group was formed. So, yes, she said. She replied, yes, we've got a corker. He's just beaten up a couple of nurses. This is not new news. All right. Goes off his head completely when he's drinking, but he's a grand chap when he's sober. Though he's been here 8 times in the last 6 months. That'd be me. Understand he was once a well-known lawyer in town, but just now we've got him strapped down tight. Then there's an asterisk. This refers to Bill and Dr. Bob's first visit to AA number 3. I don't remember his name. And it's not Ebby. That's the name that went in my head. Ebby's the one that 12-stepped Bill. Here was a prospect, all right, but the description none too promising. The use of spiritual principles in such cases was not so well understood as it is now. But one of the friends said, put him in a private room, we'll be down. You know, I would actually prefer that they know nothing about AA. I am, Ingrid, I'm on page 157. So, I'm going to probably cruise through the rest of this because I got to go get my meds put in. 2 days later, a future fellow of Alcoholics Anonymous stared glassily at the strangers beside his bed. Who are you fellows, and why this private room? I was always in a ward before, said one of the visitors. We're giving you treatment for alcoholism. Treatment. Different word today, huh? But we're treatment. We're the treatment. We're the solution. You are treatment. That's why I say you don't need treatment. You don't need a 30-day vacation. I heard a guy earlier and he was selling his own style of sobriety. He's like, I went to treatment 13 times and I never gave up. I'm like, that's like 10 times too many, dude. You're a selfish fuck for doing that. Thanks for using up a Medicaid bed for the guy that hasn't been to treatment at all, but you need to go on a 30-day whatever. All right. Hopeless was written large on the man's face as he replied, oh, but that's no use. Nothing would fix me. I'm a goner. The last 3 times I got drunk on the way home from here, I'm afraid to go out the door. I can't understand it. God, I get that. I was never afraid to go out the door, though. I knew what I was going to do. For an hour, the 2 friends told him about their drinking experiences. Over and over, he would say, "That's me. That's me. I drink like that." The man in the bed was told of the acute poisoning from which he suffered, how it deteriorates the body of an alcoholic and warps his mind. There was much talk about the mental state preceding the first drink. "Yes, that's me," said the sick man, "the very image. Fellows know your stuff, all right. But I don't see what good it'll do me. You fellows are somebody." But they weren't 6 months ago. No, they weren't. Not any different. I was once, but now I'm a nobody now. From what you tell me, I know more than ever. I can't stop. At this, both the visitors burst into laughter. Said the future fellow anonymous, "Damn little to laugh about that I can see." The 2 friends spoke of their spiritual experience and told them about the course of action they carried out. He interrupted. "I used to be strong in the church, but that won't fix it. I prayed to God on hangover morning and sworn that I'd never touch another drop, but by 9 o'clock I was boiled as an owl." Next day, the prospect found the prospect more receptive. He had been thinking it over. "Maybe you're right," he said. "God ought to be able to do anything." Then he added, "He sure didn't do much for me when I was trying to fight this booze racket alone." On the 3rd day, the lawyer gave his life to the care and direction of his Creator and said he was perfectly willing to do anything necessary. His wife came, scarcely daring to be hopeful, though she thought she had saw something different about her husband already. He had begun to have a spiritual experience. That afternoon, he put on his clothes and walked from the hospital a free man. He entered a political campaign, making speeches, frequenting men's gathering places of all sorts, often staying up all night. He lost the race by only a narrow margin, but he found God, and in finding God, he found himself. That was June 1935, and he never drank again. He too has has become a respected and useful member of his community. He has helped other men recover, and it is in the power and is a power in the church from when he was lost, long absent. Whew! All right. Well, I don't really have much more to say on it except the fact that, gosh, what great examples of 12-step calls, and showing that we can help other people. So, all right. I hope everybody has a good day. That's what I have for this on this one. 40 minutes, I think, is good. So, all right. Thanks for being here. I love you. Peace out.